Somebody retired at 30 courtesy Bitcoin. Somebody made it into the Forbes richest list because they invested in Bitcoin. These are all success stories that we have heard through social media or through word of mouth about this magic wand called Bitcoin. But have you ever tried to understand the mechanics behind this magic wand? If your answer is no, then stay tuned, for in this episode, we will try and explain everything that there is to know about Bitcoin. One of the most important documents of the 21st century is called Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system written by Satoshi Nakamoto in October 2008. And the crazy thing is, no one knows who really wrote it. Was it one person or was it an alias for a group of people? Well, whoever did kick-started the creation of one of the most important inventions since the internet. We're talking about blockchain, the platform infrastructure that drives Bitcoin and all other cryptocurrencies. Satoshi finally released the 30,000 lines of code that would create version 0.1 of Bitcoin on 3rd January 2009, thus bringing about the entire cryptocurrency revolution. So what really is Bitcoin? The paper says a peer-to-peer version of electronic cash would allow online payments to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution. So what do these lines mean? First, Bitcoin is a form of digital currency. Now don't confuse this with online banking, which is actually a digital representation of physical currency. Second, Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer version of digital currency which can be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution. Generally, people transfer money to each other through a financial institution such as a bank. However, in a peer-to-peer network, there is no financial institution involved. So how does one conduct transactions? The answer is through digital signatures. Say Tina wanted to send letters to her daughter Anjali, but she wanted to make sure that only Anjali could read her letters, even if someone like a Rahul came in between. Bitcoin achieves this through asymmetric encryption. Here, each user has a set of two digital keys, a public key and a private key. What is encrypted using a public key can only be opened with its corresponding private key. Your public key is like your email address. It can be seen by anyone in the world, while your private key is like your password. Nobody in the middle would be able to intercept and read the message because they would not have the corresponding private key. But this is only part of the solution. Clearly, there's more to this. Let's refer to the paper once again. Quote unquote, but the main benefits are lost if a trusted third party is still required to prevent double spending. So what is double spending? In the case of physical cash, when you have taken your money and given it to someone, that money is no longer with you. You can't spend the same money again. It is the same with online banking accounts. However, with digital currencies, this is not the case. You see, digital currencies are essentially bits of information stored somewhere, the same way that you store pictures of your last vacation on your hard drive. Just like you can send your vacation photos to 2 or more people, there is nothing stopping you from sending the same digital currency to 2 or more people. As long as these people don't know each other or don't compare what they've received, no one will ever know that you spent the same unit of currency twice. So how do we solve this double spending problem? Let's refer to the paper once again. Quote unquote, timestamp transactions by hashing them into an ongoing chain of hash-based proof of work. Let's take that step by step. Timestamp is easy to understand. All it means is that the exact time of the transaction will be recorded with the transaction itself. Now let's understand what hashed means. Whenever you hash something, you take an input and convert it into a fixed size output irrespective of the size of the input. Next, you should not be able to figure out the original message by looking at the hash. This makes hashing a one-way function. And lastly, it should be super easy to create the hash of any given input. So now, let's go back to the paper and refer to the second half of the sentence. Quote unquote, an ongoing chain of hash-based proof of work. However, someone in the network needs to do some work before they get the right to add hashed transactions to this chain of transactions. What this means is that you cannot replace a transaction without redoing all the work that went into adding it in the first place. The next part of the paper says, the longest chain of a particular blockchain not only serves as proof of the sequence of events witnessed, but also proof that it came from the largest pool of CPU power. As several transactions are simultaneously being added to the chain, it ends up with several different links. However, the rule of Bitcoin making is that only the longest chain will be considered as proof of the sequence of events. To simplify this, consider a tree with several different branches. In the Bitcoin world, only the longest branch is valid, while the rest are ignored. The next section of the paper says, as long as a majority of the computers on the peer-to-peer network are good actors, the longest proof of work chain is valid. Now this means that as long as a simple majority of the network are good, the system will work perfectly, or else it won't. So before we wrap up the video, here's one more bit that needs to be understood. As per the paper, the network itself requires minimal structure. Messages are broadcast on a best effort basis, and nodes can leave and rejoin the network at will, accepting the longest proof of work chain as proof of what happened while they were gone. All they need to do is accept the longest proof of work chain as valid transactions, while nodes online will keep adding to the blockchain. Well, that brings this episode to a close. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.